We live in an age obsessed with proving everything we cannot see. Ironically, the more advanced our instruments become, the more limited our perception of reality seems to be. Telescopes map galaxies, algorithms decode DNA, yet the spiritual atmosphere of a home remains undetectable by technology. But while devices cannot sense it, you can because God wired you to perceive more than the visible world. For years, society has slowly muted the language of the spirit. Anything unexplained is labeled coincidence, paranoia, or misinterpretation. Still, long before logic analyzes a threat, the body often detects a shift. And one of the earliest detectors God placed in you was not your sight, it was your sense of smell. Your home is not merely a building, it is a sanctuary or a battleground. There is no middle ground. Every space carries a spiritual climate, one that invites peace and divine light, or one that allows shadows to linger and expand. The unseen world does not announce its arrival with sound often. It announces itself with atmosphere and sometimes with aroma. Today, I want to talk to you about 5 specific smells that many dismiss as exaggeration, yet spiritually sensitive people recognize as signals alerts that something deeper than the natural may be unfolding in the environment where you sleep, pray, and raise your family. Let's be clear, this is not about panic. This is about discernment. If you can identify a problem, you can confront it. If you can perceive a spiritual disturbance, you can pray against it. Awareness is not intimidation, awareness is empowerment. The first scent is sulfur. It resembles rotten eggs, struck matches, or metal sparking under extreme heat. When this odor emerges in a closed room with no plumbing issues, no gas leaks, no electrical failures, it may be more than a physical phenomenon. Throughout Scripture, sulfur appears connected to judgment, spiritual confrontation, and territories marked by divine or opposing forces. It is often a signal that something incompatible with God's presence is attempting to gain influence. A modern example? Someone once told me how sulfur filled their living room the same week they brought home an antique figurine purchased from an overseas market. It was marketed as cultural art, yet it had been used in ceremonial practices. Within days, anxiety spiked at night, and the atmosphere felt tense and crowded despite the silence. Objects are not always spiritually neutral. Some carry history, intention, and attachment. The Bible warns about allowing anything spiritually defiled into the home, not to promote fear, but to promote spiritual hygiene. But sulfur also shows up when your spirit begins to rise. When you pray with new intensity, when you shift from routine prayer to warrior prayer, the unseen resistance reacts not because you are weak, but because you are becoming spiritually disruptive to darkness. The enemy does not challenge an empty house. It challenges the one being reclaimed. The second scent is decay, the smell of rotting flesh, decomposing meat, or stagnant death. This is a dense, heavy odor that feels like it drops into a space. When it appears without a physical source, no spoiled food, no dead animal, no visible trigger, it may indicate spiritual contamination rooted in unresolved wounds, resentment that was never prayed through, forgiveness that was spoken but never released, emotional injuries left to fester. The enemy understands something well. Unhealed pain becomes open access. What we hide from God, thinking it will fade, often becomes fuel for spiritual heaviness. The smell of decay is not the start of a problem. It is often the result of a problem that has been ignored too long. Many report this scent showing up before visible crises unfold, before relationships fracture, before unexplained sickness begins, before sudden financial pressure strikes, or before spiritual exhaustion fully sets in. It is a pre-signal, a merciful alert, a spiritual check engine light. The third scent is burning. It may resemble scorched hair, melted rubber, overheating plastic, or invisible flames licking at the air. Scripture describes the enemy's attacks as fiery darts, assaults meant to distract, disrupt focus, and destabilize faith. The burning smell often appears during spiritual friction, moments of intercession, fasting, breakthrough prayer, or when you begin to pray specifically for someone's freedom. A personal story shared with me once described this. The odor of burning rushed into a prayer room exactly as they declared a healing verse out loud. There was no smoke, no fire, yet the attack tried to redirect attention. The goal of spiritual fire is not destruction, it is distraction. The enemy targets your prayer life because prayer is the one place where you are not reacting, you are advancing. The fourth scent is stagnant perfume, an overly sweet floral odor that feels artificial, cloying, and emotionally manipulative. Unlike the natural fragrance of flowers, this scent feels coated, thick, and spiritually out of place. Many believers describe this as a tactic of spiritual mimicry, something posing as comfort but producing mental fog, spiritual dullness, or emotional imbalance. A New Age incense, a meditation candle infused with intention-based affirmations, or a ritual fragrance marketed as energy cleansing, can create spiritual confusion if it replaces prayer instead of supporting prayer. Discernment is not rejecting fragrance, it is rejecting influence disguised as fragrance. And the fifth scent is metallic blood, an odor resembling iron, copper, or blood without injury. This is often associated with environments under intense spiritual oppression, generational trauma left unaddressed, or spiritual pressure points, where the enemy tries to intimidate through atmosphere rather than visibility. But remember this, you can only perceive what God allows you to notice. And God only allows you to notice what He has also equipped you to pray against. If any of these scents have ever appeared in your home, do not minimize the moment. Do not let logic alone interpret what your spirit may be flagging. The enemy wants familiarity before opposition, but a home governed by God was never meant to normalize spiritual suffocation. Your house can be reclaimed. The atmosphere can shift. Prayer rebuilds what pressure tries to steal. Light redefines what darkness attempts to occupy. This is not a message of paranoia. This is a reminder of spiritual ownership. Your home is not undefended. Your senses are not accidental. And the unseen world does not have permission unless we grant it through silence. Stand alert. Stand prayerful. Stand in authority. Because the moment you begin to discern, you have already begun to win. I believe we've entered a generation that trains us to doubt anything we cannot measure. But spiritual reality was never meant to fit inside a test tube. God gave us intuition, sensitivity, and senses that go beyond observation. They also serve as spiritual alarms. For a long time, I tried to rationalize everything. If something felt off, I looked for a scientific explanation first. And I still value science. It reveals God's intelligence in creation. But not everything that affects us originates in the natural. Some things originate in the atmosphere, in the unseen, in the spiritual climate of a place. To me, a home is more than a physical structure. It's a sacred space where peace should breathe freely. If that peace is constantly attacked emotionally, mentally, spiritually, there's a moment when you stop asking what is happening and start asking where it is coming from. I don't think recognizing spiritual signs means living in fear. I think it means living in responsibility. Ignoring a warning is not bravery. Discernment is. Awareness is. Prayer is. If God allows us to perceive something, whether through a feeling, a dream, or even a sudden unexplained scent, it's not to intimidate us. It's because He trusts us to respond to it in prayer, to confront it in faith, and to guard what He placed under our care. So yes, I pay attention to the invisible world, not obsessively, but intentionally, because I know that what I tolerate quietly can eventually influence loudly, and my house, my family, and my faith are not territories I'm willing to negotiate. That's my view. Discernment is not superstition, it's strategy. To conclude, spiritual discernment is not about being afraid of the unseen. It's about understanding that the unseen is already aware of you. Darkness doesn't retreat because it is confronted loudly, but because it is confronted consistently with truth, prayer, and authority rooted in God. If a warning reaches your senses, whether through a sudden scent, a heavy atmosphere, or spiritual pressure, it may not be a threat. It may be mercy speaking before damage manifests. The question is never, why is this happening to me? But what is God preparing me to overcome? Here are a few practical examples to recognize the pattern. A couple constantly arguing only in one room of the house, later discovering it was the same place where a decorative object from an occult-themed store had been placed. Once removed and covered in prayer, the atmosphere shifted and communications softened. A person smelling burning rubber during intense prayer for a family member's healing, without any physical source. Instead of stopping, they continued praying, and days